You won't believe how rich these people got on game shows. From multiple winning appearances to single moments of genius, these game show winners all went home rich. Number 10. Matt Amodio, $1.6 million. The 10th biggest winner in game show history is Matt Amodio. He's a mathematician with a PhD in computer science from Yale, so you can bet his win was down to smarts instead of luck. Unlike a lot of other people you'll meet on this list, Matt only appeared on one game show, and that show was Jeopardy! The classic game allows winners to earn mind-blowing amounts of cash if they're smart enough, because you can keep playing for as long as you keep winning. And that's exactly what Matt did. Back in 2021, Matt had an incredible 38-day winning streak, finishing third on the 39th day and ending his run on the show. But by the time he lost, he'd won more than 1.5 mil. He still holds the record for third highest regular season wins on the show.
You now have the second most consecutive wins in Jeopardy history.
You'll know exactly how impressive that is by the end of this video. But it's not just about his regular wins. He also made it to the semifinals on Jeopardy's 2022 Tournament of Champions, which earned him another 10 grand. And he finished in third place in the 2023 Jeopardy Masters Tournament, which added an impressive $150,000 to his winning total. But if Matt has third place for highest number of games won on Jeopardy, then who's in second place? Lucky for you, it's the next person on our list. Number 9. Amy Schneider, $1.7 million. Amy Schneider is another rare example of someone who made over $1 million from just one game show. She made her first appearance on Jeopardy in 2021 on November 17th, and continued to win into 2022. She won a mind-boggling 40 games before she finally lost on her 41st appearance on the show, coming in second place for the first time. That means she's in second place for the highest number of wins on the regular version of Jeopardy! By the end of her run, she'd gathered more than 1.3 mil in prize money. That makes her the first woman in Jeopardy history to win more than $1 million. But she knew she could take home more. She then joined the Jeopardy Tournament of Champions, and she came out on top. Winning that added another $250,000 to her total. Then in January 2023, she appeared on the brand new Jeopardy Masters Tournament, but this time she didn't win it. She made it to the quarterfinal round, finishing in 5th place. But even though she didn't take home the gold, she did take home another 75 grand. That brings her total up to over $1.7 million. That's an enviable amount of cash, but Amy is still only in 9th place. The next winner on our list won a little more than her, but he didn't do it on Jeopardy! Number 8. David Legler, $1.76 million. David Legler is famous for being the biggest ever winner in the history of 21. The NBC game show originally aired between 1956 and 1958. But the show came to a sudden stop when it was revealed that the game had been rigged. It was one of at least 3 high-profile TV shows that were revealed to have been fixed to give some contestants an advantage over others. The scandal almost put an end to all game shows on American TV. But the genre made a comeback after investigations by the US Senate. And amazingly, this show also made a comeback. Despite the scandal, NBC must have figured that the show's notoriety could mean a new season of the show would become successful. So in 2000, they brought it back. This revival series is the one David entered. His run was pretty great, and it only ended after he'd already had 6 wins. That major winning streak meant he went home with an incredible $1.765 million. That makes him the biggest winner on the show ever. And his record is probably going to stand for a long time, because the revival of the show was canceled after that season. Like David, the next contestant on our list also won a ton of cash on a short-lived game show. But which one was it? Number 7. Ashley Register, $1.79 million. Ashley Register's impressive win was all down to her appearance on the quiz show Duel. The show aired for just 2 seasons from December 2007. But despite the show's short run, Ashley managed to break several records on that show just by being seriously good at it. The betting-style game gave contestants chips, like poker chips, which could be used to bet on their choice of multiple choice answers to quiz questions. As long as they had enough chips, the contestant could bet on as many of the 4 multiple choice answers as they wanted. It turned out, Ashley's betting logic across the 6-episode tournament-style game was pretty perfect. By the final question, she'd already gathered 75 grand in prize money. Now she was playing for the accumulated jackpot of $1.72 million. Spoiler alert, she got it. Her grand total came to $1.795 million. That means she holds the record for biggest win by a female on a game show in the history of American TV. She also holds the record for most money won by a contestant on a single game show. And that means every other contestant on this list has tried their hand at more than one game show. Which ones did the next person choose? Number 6. Ed Toutant, $1.87 million. Ed Toutant's amazing game show run was pretty unique in 2 ways. Firstly, while most contestants on this list won big on Jeopardy, Ed's try on that show was a little less successful. He went home with only $11,401. Sure, it's a nice amount of cash to win, but it's not millions. But his big win almost didn't happen. This was back in 2001, when the classic show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire tried out a progressive jackpot version of the show. That meant if nobody took home the money, $10,000 was added on top of the $1 million jackpot every time. Kinda like a lottery rollover. By the time Ed made it on the show, the jackpot had reached $1.86 million. With a lot of money up for grabs, you can bet Ed was pretty disappointed when his chance to win it ended too soon. He got a question wrong and was sent home with only $1,000. So why is he on our list? Well, his Who Wants to Be a Millionaire journey wasn't over yet. See, the question he got wrong was actually flawed. Let's see if you can answer it. The question he was given was, scientists in England recently genetically altered what vegetable so it glows when it needs water? After using his Ask the Audience lifeline, Ed answered tomatoes. The correct answer was potatoes. Only the question was incorrect. The experiment had been conducted in Scotland, not England like they said. Meanwhile, over in England, some similar experiments were being done on tomatoes. When producers learned this, they decided to invite Ed back on the show. He was allowed to resume the game from the question they'd said he got wrong, and they made sure the same jackpot was up for grabs that he had when he first appeared. This time, there were no wrong answers. Ed got all the way to the final question and won the jackpot. That brings his total prize money across both shows to $1.87 million. Think it can't get any better than that? Well, the next person on our list topped the $2 million mark. Number 5. Kevin Olmsted, $2.2 million. Like a lot of players on this list, Kevin Olmsted won some money on Jeopardy. He took home an impressive 27 grand on the show. But that's not as much as some other people we've mentioned, and it's definitely not enough to get him onto 5th place on this list. Instead, his big win came from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Like Ed Toutant, he was participating in the progressive jackpot version of the game in 2001. Thanks to that unique version of the show, Kevin took home $2.18 million. That gigantic win meant Kevin left the show with multiple game show records to his name. He walked off the set as the biggest ever winner in the history of American TV, a record which he held onto for an impressive 3 years until it was broken by the person in our number 1 spot. He also held the record as the biggest winner on a primetime game show in US television history, and he held that record for a whopping 12 years. You're probably wondering who took that record away from Kevin. Well, we've got the answer for you. It was the next person on our list who stole Kevin's title, but the way he did it was pretty surprising. Number 4. Andrew Kravis, $2.656 million. Andrew Kravis earned his spot on this list in a pretty unusual way. But before we get to that, we should take a look at some of his smaller wins on other shows. After all, they all contributed to his total. His smallest was just $1,000, which he earned on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. His second smallest win was $5,000, which he won on Jeopardy's teen tournament in 2002. In the end, he was eliminated in the semifinal round. After that, we start getting into seriously impressive amounts of cash. He won another $50,550 on the classic show Wheel of Fortune. But he had his biggest win on a much more obscure show. It was the short-lived NBC show, The Million-Second Quiz. The trivia-based show was hosted by Ryan Seacrest, and it aired for only a few days in 2013. But it turned out Andrew was really good at it. He became one of the top 4 finalists, earning over $326,000 along the way. But it wasn't over. He entered the finals and won the grand prize, a whopping $2 million. That comes to a total of more than $2.3 million. But the producers had an idea. The record for most money ever won on a game show at the time was a little under $2.6 million. In case you're wondering, it was held by the person in our #1 spot. We'll introduce you to him soon. The producers of the Million-Second Quiz decided it would be great publicity for the show if Andrew became the biggest game show winner ever. So they deliberately rounded up his cash prize by a little less than $300,000. That meant he took home $2.6 million. In other words, his #4 spot on our list was won in the most unique way ever. Since Andrew won in 2013, the records have changed dramatically. That explains why he's only in 4th place. The person in 3rd place won almost $1 million more than he did. Number 3. James Holzhauer, $3.5 million. James Holzhauer's impressive game show run began with an appearance on The Chase. The American version of the hit British game show of the same name requires players to outwit a professional quizzer to take home the prize. It's a pretty difficult show to win, and you need some pretty smart people on the team to have any hope of taking home some serious cash. James made it through as part of a 3-person team. Together, they hit an impressive $175,000 jackpot, which meant James personally took home $58,333. But that was just the start of his game show success. You don't become the 3rd most successful game show contestant in history by winning a few $1,000s. Despite an unsuccessful appearance on 500 questions where he didn't win a cent, he was about to become a multi-millionaire thanks to Jeopardy! His run was seriously impressive, and he finally went home after a 33-show winning streak. By the end of that run, he was less than $60,000 short of breaking the record for the highest non-tournament winnings on the show. He had just a little less than $2.5 million, but he wasn't done yet. He went on to win the 2019 Tournament of Champions Grand Prize, which earned him another $250,000. Just 1 year later, he won another $250,000 on the 2020 Jeopardy! Greatest of All Time tournament. And earlier this year, that's 2023 if you're watching the future, he won the very first Jeopardy! Masters tournament, taking home another $500,000. All that together puts him in 3rd place on our list, with his total game show winnings coming to more than $3.5 million. Think that's impressive? The next person on our list has over $1.5 million more in prize money. But he's also half of one of the greatest game show rivalries in history. Let's find out who the 2 greatest players of all time are, starting with this man in 2nd place. Number 2. Brad Rutter, $5.1 million. Brad Rutter from Pennsylvania is one half of the greatest game show rivalry in history. We'll meet his arch nemesis in a moment. Let's break down his winning total. Out of the more than $5,138,000, just $100,000 came from his appearance on $1 Million Mind Game, where he split a $600,000 prize with 6 other contestants. The rest was all won on Jeopardy! In fact, he overtook another Jeopardy! Legend to become the biggest ever winner on the show. That's partly down to his win on Jeopardy's The Ultimate Tournament of Champions in 2005, where he took home a staggering $2.1 million. That's not the only Jeopardy! Tournament he's won, though. He also won $1 million on the $1 Million Masters Tournament in 2002, another $1 million for winning the Battle of the Decades tournament in 2014, then another $1 million prize, which he split with 2 winning teammates on Jeopardy! All-Star Games, plus a collection of other, smaller prizes. We've also included the value of the car he won on his original 5-game winning streak when he first appeared on the show back in the year 2000. Brad is such an accomplished Jeopardy player that he'd never lost a match against a human opponent until his appearance on the Greatest of All Time tournament in 2020. That's a 20-year winning streak. And even though he didn't win that time, he still received $250,000 for his appearance. In total, his prize money from all those appearances on Jeopardy tournaments comes to more than $5,038,000. But Brad wasn't always the biggest Jeopardy winner. And that's because there's someone else in the world that has won more games than him. If it wasn't for Brad's $2.1 million Ultimate Tournament of Champions win, the next person on our list would still be the biggest winner on the show. Even if he's lost that title, he's still the biggest game show winner of all time. Who is he? Number 1. Ken Jennings, $5.3 million. Ken Jennings is the undisputed game show champion, and his Jeopardy rivalry with Brad Rutter is now the stuff of legends. But while Brad holds the record for most money won on the show, Ken has all the other records. His biggest title is for the longest winning streak ever on the show, a record that's still unbeaten. That might have been different if the rules hadn't changed. When Brad went on, winners had to retire after 5 shows. But by the time Ken made his debut, players were allowed to stay for as long as they continued to win. Thanks to that rule change, Ken has an unmatched 74-show winning streak. But if you think that's a little unfair on Brad, don't worry. Ken has another record that proves he deserves the title. He holds the title for highest average correct responses per game, with a whopping 35.9 during his original run. To put that into perspective, no other player has got higher than 30. In total, Ken has won over $4.5 million during his time on Jeopardy! If Brad hadn't won the $2.1 million prize on the Ultimate Tournament of Champions, Ken would have the record for most money won on the show, too. That win for Brad meant that, for a while, he stole the top spot as the biggest game show winner ever. Ken was in that tournament too, but took home just $500,000 for finishing in second place. See how close this rivalry is? But Ken knew he could take his title back by appearing on other shows. And he was right. He won another $500,000 on Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Then he appeared on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, taking home $100,000. His appearance on the show Grand Slam earned him another $100,000. He also won another $72,800 on Celebrity Wheel of Fortune, which he donated to the charity Equal Justice Initiative. His smallest win yet was $714 on the show 1 vs. 100, but it all added up to give him a grand total of more than $5.3 million, making him the biggest game show winner of all time. His Jeopardy wins are so legendary that he was given a job as one of the hosts on the show in 2021. So, in a way, all the money he won only led him to earning even more money as a host. He was even nominated for a Primetime Emmy for his role as Jeopardy host, as if all his other achievements weren't impressive enough. These huge game show wins are pretty impressive, but it's not the only way ordinary people can get rich. In fact, most smart people choose gambling to make millions. Check out these 200 IQ moments from the world's top gamblers to find out how they became the greatest ever.